G'day, guys. Another weekend with your mate, Harry Serpanos. And today we've got a special guest. We've got Bart Kay here. Thanks for turning up, Bart.
Not at all. It's my pleasure. Yellow Ted and I are always very, very happy to contribute to the stream.
Even Ted turned up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ted. Oh, it's good to see him. I hope he keeps you in line.
Oh my God, you have no idea, Harry, about the level of disciplinarian that Yellow Ted is.
He is here for that purpose. You realise that?
He's a beast. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we don't have Pim here, so we need Ted just to keep you in line, mate.
Right.
Let's see what all these bigots are actually. Oh well, we got T1 there.
There we go.
Right off the mark. T1. I wonder where. Oh, and what is T2 doing?
Guess who's bloody second? Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
And on the oxalate juice, with beaking away, bird brain. That's what happens when you're on oxalate juice.
No. This is a mixture of oxalate juice and rape-based beverage, Harry.
Okay. Yeah. Look, as I said, I'm selective with my raping. I only abuse A2 animals.
Excellent.
So I'm very selective.
We can't have indiscriminate animal rapage, can we?
Okay, so yeah, I sort of leave the A1s alone. I sort of you got to have some moral somewhere.
Yellow Ted says you're a racist, Harry.
No, yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm a bigot A1. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm really bad in that regard. And there's your earlier comment.
Yeah, well, that's my usual opener for 10, isn't it?
Exactly.
Oh, hey, look, we've got a bona fide fucking rock star with us here today, Harry. Luke Gear is in the house.
Yeah? I can see him.
Yeah.
Luke is definitely there.
Oh my God, he said.
I did send him a link, so if he wants to do an impromptu at any time, because Luke in the past, like, he came on for a while and then what off. As I said, I say you can stay as long as you like. It's like Jared, he'll turn up eventually once he gets his meal sorted out and his milk, and he'll be rubbing it in and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, some rape-based beverage now, Harry.
Pretty much. I hope you've seen the recent image. Things are really changing. He's moved it to the next level. Let me just find that.
Let's have a look. Excellent. There's a lot of bigots in the chat today, Harry.
Oh, bloody hell. It's I struggle to control them, mate. I struggle to control them.
Yeah. Now, this channel is plant-based, isn't it, Harry?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on a channel that's not plant-based.
Yeah. I got some kibble for you later.
Oh, good. Oh, look at that now.
Yeah, I know. Things are heating up along the US-Canadian border.
Yeah.
Do not, if you see this man, do not approach.
No, he's dangerous.
And if you're holding any milk products, run.
Yep. Good.
Oh, let's see what all these other bigots are on about.
Yep.
Any half decent questions, or is it just basically more banter?
Banter's good, Harry. Let's see some of that. Lukey's overloaded for today. He's all overwhelmed by his new celebrity status. Let me tell you, I'll tell you.
Richard likes his fat very thick and inchy.
Yep. Don't we all? That's true. Oh, There you go, Luke. The stream's been viewed 400 times as of right now. There you go. 400 times. That's how hard they are throttling me, Harry.
Yeah, look, it's crazy. It's
that stream would normally have 1,000 views by now, and today it's got 400.
Look, it sort of. I also had a bit of a spurt in recent times, and I've noticed that when I've gone through all my videos and I've taken out all the sort of words, those emotive words, in my tags, and all of a sudden I go from 300 to 400 because I've taken all those things out, and I'm going, what?
Yeah. Hey, listen, we need to talk about library a bit later on too, Harry. Library.
Yep. Okay.
It's really, really, it's a fascinating thing. I've been doing due diligence on it for a couple of months actually, so I've really looked into it, and I've syndicated my channel, my main channel, to library.
Okay.
I think that's the future. I think that's the way forward in the medium term. Short term, obviously, we are still all beholden to Google and the YouTube's empire. But library is a viable alternative for real and is actually expanding exponentially as we speak. So anyway, that's a topic for later if we run out of things to talk about.
Exactly.
Which is unlikely. It's you and me, Harry. So the fact that there's going to be nothing is just the odds of that are about P is less than fuck all, isn't it?
Exactly. Look, he's got something new, mate.
Yep.
For me. Nice one, Luke. Yes, I feel like that sometimes.
Oh, the Hammer of Lucas. Yes, the Hammer of Lucas. Lucas hammer banned somebody on my Discord during the week. Somebody was engaging in hate speech, Harry, and Lucas brought down the Hammer of Thor on them. And they were booted. Yeah, good work. Yeah. He said, "Oh my God, I am not having that here. Off you fuck." Oh my God. That's just an anecdote, mind.
It is. It is.
Right. Yeah. You need to get out of there, don't you, son? Come and be my butler. Come and be my butler. I'll have you. I'll have him trained up in no time, Harry.
Yes, Yes, Kitty. Yes. We're into that sort of beverage. Me especially. Me and Jared, we're bad. Jared, he's got a whole business. It's sort of under the sort of radar business, but yeah.
Smuggling, is it?
Oh, look, we don't go to details just in case the authorities are observing this stream, so we have to be very careful.
Tell you what, Harry, they're already watching you because there's a rumor floating around that you have usurped the crown in Tasmania.
Yes. But there is a bit of fever out there, so maybe you never know. There could be rebellion on the way. We sort of have a few characters down here that would be supportive. What did he say?
He said count to 10, but when you get to 8, throw a punch. No one will expect that. So Ted.
Oh.
Invited him on the show, Harry.
God almighty, he's bad.
I know.
Uncontrollable. And you've had him all throughout the whole of your life. It explains everything, mate.
Well, no, Harry, let's be fair.
You have been abused by Ted all your life. It explains everything. It's not the kibble. It's not the kibble. You're always complaining it's the kibble that's caused you all your problems. No, it's Ted.
Right.
You're really wrong on this. It's Ted that's caused all your problems.
No, who would clean up the mess? Goodness. He just doesn't. Boy, when I was younger, I used to do everything he told me to do. much more mature these days.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Just a quick question. Keep on taking it.
Hello, Richard Tapestry. Hello, son.
Yes,
Hello.
Yes, I've been getting quite a few questions about different subject matters from Richard lately. So I've been sort of looking into a few things, and there's a lot of the sort of the pseudo there's sort of all these sort of hyper type thyroid type disorders and all these other things that a lot of the vegetards out there try to accuse meat about and stuff like that. So I've been answering a few of those and giving him a few pointers to go back to those blogs and sort of blast them. But yes, I mean, I did suggest boron, and it was basically Fapnado wanted to increase his libido, suppress his prolactin levels, and suppress his estrogen levels. And I did mention about some sub-studies, randomized control studies that looked into boron and taking certain doses. Go check that. I can't remember which one it is. I think I put some. I'll try and remind myself, and I'll actually put a link at the end of this stream back to that one, to the exact location where I explained the whole lot, rather than actually going over it again. So let's move on.
Apparently Lashmi's watching.
Is she? Oh well, you know.
Well, here's what Lucas is saying about Lashmi, I guess. You know, there's been some hate speech during the week, Harry. You know, she's done a response to our discussion.
Oh, has she? I have not seen it.
No, neither have I. But I'm told that there's some hate speech involved. And,
okay. Well,
anyway.
She already did that last time when she came on and basically called us. Basically, we are subhuman, ignorant, carnies, and all that. And it's just basically all that nonsense. It's sort of people, privileged Westerners, that take little bits out of Hinduism without truly understanding Hinduism. You know, out of all these sort of cults, the new Gaia sort of spirituality and this sort of belief in these extraterrestrials that are out there fighting amongst themselves, and sort of we're connected to them and stuff like this. It's all this sort of new Gaia, new age sort of movement, and they've actually lumped it all together in this sort of bizarre type of concoction. And they're basically saying we're up here, the elite. You down there are all the actual, bad, evil, nasty, ignorant people.
Ourselves with animals if we like, Harry, because we might know we're subhuman.
Exactly. And that's, she basically says, this is what defines a human, and you guys are subhuman, basically. So she basically called us all
180,000 different species of humans that are privileged and not animals.
Yeah, but the thing that I find offensive is that, the only reason why I sort of touched on some of her beliefs, I wouldn't have. I was, initially I was just going to be focused on looking at, the deficiencies in milk, like the iron deficiency and stuff like that. But I said, no, I mean, this person's gone out of their way to basically insult an entire community. People like myself, calling me subhuman. I don't know what I'm talking about. Things like of that sort in that regard. And so when you call somebody something like that people that come from our community are that, people are offended. And so obviously you're going to say, well, hold on. So where is this sort of belief coming from? Let's just unravel this sort of belief and the logic behind it. And that's what we did. But the key focus was on the dairy. We made a bit of fun about the other stuff, but the key focus was
Harry, the mistake we made is we presumed that you could capably look at analyzing something by looking what's actually in it. But you can't analyze milk through papers, Harry, that tell us what's actually fucking in it.
That is exactly true.
No. We need to open our minds, you see, to the possibilities around us. We're bigots, Harry. We are middle class bigots who we're stuck in our paradigm of thinking, and we will never understand.
Hey,
There you
I'm
go.
an enlightened. Hey, hold on. We're not all bigots. I'm an enlightened bigot.
Of course.
So
You're
don't
special,
drag
Harry.
me down to your level.
No, I know you're special. Yeah,
Exactly.
of course.
Exactly. You should know that.
Yeah, in the same
And
way
here's
that
Jared.
Jared, how are you?
Here's another special man.
Hello. Long time no see, Bart.
Yeah, it's been a while. Was it a good steak and rape based beverage? Oh, there you go. There he is out again. Will you never stop with the rape bridge? Goodness, Jared.
Yeah, it was good though. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You heard it first here. Not only is he on with it, still he's enjoying it too, boys and girls.
He can't help himself. It's
Yeah,
all
I
about
agree.
animal abuse,
Can't say
mate.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll just find that one.
So what did I miss in 15 minutes of streaming? 16 minutes.
You haven't missed much. It's been
bantering.
I didn't hear a single word either of you said because you were both talking.
Go, Bart. All yours.
I just said preamble, bantering, dealing with some of the live chats. Yeah, it's been great.
Hey, Butter.
Grandpa. Oh yeah, you can hear her. Yeah, she's in heat. She's calling all the boys to the yard.
Kitty, no, kitty, no.
She yes, she wants a male cat to come and satisfy her.
Kitty, no. Anyway, here we go.
Actually, I will just basically. This is a study, and it's an Indian study. Let me just find.
What are you looking for, Harry?
I've got the wrong one. I should have saved the damn link.
Yeah. Well, could you do any better? Goodness me. He says the rudest things, doesn't he?
Yes, I bet he
Can't
does.
believe it. Yeah. Oh. Hello, pussycat.
Here it is.
Hey?
Found it. Let me just share this.
Shall Ebb says it's a cat orgy.
With a single cat? I guess maybe Butter just brings that level of energy.
Yeah.
And this is from our favorite organization, the World Health Organization, about the burden of iron deficiency and anemia amongst women in India. Oops. So these are the levels of these vegetarians in India. Now, let me just... I'll actually have to save this because it doesn't actually and open it up. Give me a sec, guys. You can see the horrendous levels. Why, especially in the south, IQ levels are much lower, health outcomes are much lower in India, and this is well recognized. It's not something that basically, so for the whole of India, it's about minus 3.5.
What's on the y-axis here? Oh, there we go.
So these are differences. So a lot of these areas down here are in the south, the majority. These are sort of in the north where there's more meat consumption and more animal product consumption. So you can see the vast difference.
Change in what, Harry? Sorry.
This is basically in terms of iron deficiency, sort of anemia in India.
Okay.
So the majority of the country, so the the whole of India is minus 3.5 below where they should be. And the overwhelming majority, you can actually see vast amounts of the actual country are suboptimal or extremely, deficient. And you've only got the sort of northern sort of areas, which like the capital and other areas which are in the north, the Punjab, which is sort of an area in the north, the northwest, which is also, an area where there's a lot of animal products. There's not much, grain agriculture and stuff like that. Less vegetarianism in those sort of areas. And you can see the stark differences. So when people claim that you can actually do a complete sort of a vegetarian type diet and actually be healthy, the data is there.
The association here absolutely proves causality, doesn't it, Harry?
No, these are basically observational associations, but in terms of now what's actually causing it in the diet. Obviously they look at sort of other data which has to do with like meat consumption, animal product consumption, and general iron consumption in the diet in those regions, and that's what they base. So it's an association between the consumption data of that region and the anemia levels. So it's a strong correlation, but obviously it's not a clinical. It's an observational study, but it's a strong statistical correlation in that regard. But people arguing that there is not endemic anemia in India have no idea what they're talking about, and especially in the south where there's a lot of vegetarian.
You can't analyze things by looking at the numbers underneath them, Harry. That's a middle class bigoted approach to things.
For sure, I know you're completely
the science
wrong.
Is wrong, Harry. Yeah,
it's wrong. The science is wrong. I should basically get my advice from my yogi.
You should shut down your channel.
Exactly.
And come back when you're ready. Yep.
Exactly. And I'm completely wrong. I agree.
Yep.
I've known that for a while. It's just basically it's really hard to sort of.
You have to keep shilling for it though. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And look, I'm really guilty of all that sort of stuff. We're all guilty. We should basically all shut down our sites. We should all basically turn ourselves up over to the authorities and say we are, cow rapists and
rape-based bigots.
Yep, we're really bad. We're evil people. We need to be whipped and all this sort of stuff. Now I know some people within this crowd may enjoy it and get excited from that sort of a prospect, but not all of us.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful with your chosen punishment because you don't know what I like.
That's true. That could be a problem.
They don't need to know what I like either, Yellow Ted. They don't need to know that. That's between Yellow Ted.
Yeah. Just keep it amongst yourselves. Those sort of private moments.
Yeah,
I understand.
I don't see Pim in the chat this time, Bart. You don't need to censor yourself.
Exactly. Oh, she popped in earlier, but I don't think she stayed around, or she's gone very quiet.
Jared, let me ask you this. How many sets of effectively Pim eyes do you think are watching us right now? If you look in the chat section, and put her name. Doesn't matter if she's fucking here or not, mate. She's here. Yeah. How's it going, bigots?
It's gone.
Yeah.
Yogi logic.
Yeah. Logic, bitches.
Thanks, Fabnado. You saw I looked after you in that other that milk video that we
He's
did.
Seen it. He's seen it now.
What was? Yeah, he was featured in that video or something. I saw the comment about it. I didn't see that.
It was basically another way of actually getting his milk. A more traditional way that he would really enjoy.
It was a picture of an infant suckling at presumably mother's breast. And Harry suggested that was for Fapnado's benefit, and he wasn't there to see it. So luckily, Jafar stepped in and said, "Oh, okay, I'll do the obligatory Fapnato response in his stead," and he did, and it was perfect, and we all laughed, and it was a great day. And then we had a cuddle and a kiss in a Mars bar.
Carnivore Mars bar?
Sure. Is that a euphemism? Yeah.
I think that's been directed to you, right?
Yep.
Necrocritty would be she would be the prime suspect for vicarious PIM-eyes.
That's it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Harut says PIM is everywhere. Yeah.
He's right.
Yeah.
PIM is everyone. PIM is a state of mind, not a person.
You cannot escape it.
No, you will be impimolated. Oh fuck!
You're gonna pay for this seriously after.
Oh Jesus, it's getting worse, isn't it?
You're really just digging that hole of yours.
Well, it's true to form, if nothing else, Harry. Yeah, true to form.
Keep on digging, mate.
Yes. There you go.
There. You've been told.
Yeah.
Be nice to your queen.
I'm always nice to my queen. Tumbleweeds.
Crickets.
Yeah,
Clocks
cricket.
ticking.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Any questions, guys?
Yeah, come on, you bigots. Let's have some questions.
Exactly.
Ask us something. Anything you like. Jared's here. He can tell you all about rate-based beverage culture.
That's it.
No. I'm uncomfortable with this association now.
Okay, we'll stop with that one then. We've finished with that one now. Fine.
How can this be a no PS stream if you let party?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. There you go.
That's true. That's true.
Harry, you need to be careful of your brand.
That's it. You don't want to get tarred with the same brush.
Yeah, it's already happened, mate. It's already happened.
Yeah, Harry and I both need to shave our heads now.
Yep.
I've got shitloads of raw Italian and French cheese. Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yes, very nice. So I had actually quite a bit of brie yesterday, which was really enjoyable. I haven't touched the other sort of the other cheeses. So one thing I did forget to buy is some blue cheese. There's a raw French blue cheese, which is really nice. It's a bit more pungent than some of the others, but I actually enjoy it. Well, guys, what do you guys think?
Oh, hey. Who wants to invest in my new venture? It's going to be called Beyond Fiber, and it's going to be sinew-based prebiotic supplements that you can pay $100 a bottle for.
Sounds perfect, mate. Sounds perfect.
Yeah, it protects you from all that actual fiber. Yeah. Lucas wanted to know if he really did well on the live stream today. Yes, you did.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
Lucas
he did actually.
He was great.
Lucas was awesome. Yeah.
What was this? Reason for no citric acid blend with zinc because of it actually just affects the because it's got a positive charge, and it just affects the actual charge. So yeah, the ability to get into the cell, but that's only if you get the actual virus.
What virus? Is there a virus going around?
Apparently, there's a virus of some kind. Whether we have an abnormal virus, the data would seem to tell us we don't.
Yes, I think actually even this year, because of all the social distancing, we're not even going to get much of the flu. It's going to be a non-issue this year.
Also, I tell you what, this virus that has been this very real virus, which has been going around, is also, it's miraculous. It has reduced cancer death to near zero. It has reduced heart disease death to near zero, et cetera. It's incredible what this thing can do. I think now what needs to happen is it needs to be injected into people who believe that will give them some protection.
Precisely. And beyond that point, not only does it do that, it also seems to, everything else goes away. The weather improves, relationships between people improve. There's less violence in the streets. It has solved the crime rate up until very recently, excluding the US.
It's been an awesome control of the population exercise. I think it was a bit of an experiment in some senses to try and work out to what level can we really control the people in this day and age. I think we've had the answer. We'll fucking believe everything, basically.
Perfectly,
so
they have.
I can't believe how stupid people are. But that's for another day. Anyway, we're all for the forced compulsory inoculation of people with things against their will to protect them for their own safety, aren't we? Of course, here, lads.
Exactly. Oh yeah. With unproven stuff, especially, and untested on, very
Which
ethical,
has been
very ethical,
explicitly rushed to market.
Yep. I'm looking forward to the Japanese one. That basically will make sure that you never you lose the ability as a youngster to ever be able to breed or procreate or whatever. It's one quick way of getting rid of humans. I say to the veg tarts, just have the injection, the Japanese injection. Don't bother about going in and getting the snip.
Good.
Much easier, cheaper, and it's basically going to be provided free from the government.
It is odd to me that is not an unheard of side effect of more than one type of preliminary vaccine like that.
Look, I think when it comes to things like coronaviruses, flus, and all that, you got Buckley's chance really developing any effective virus. Treatment, a vaccination. All it does is basically it basically resets your template. That's all it does. It doesn't protect you, doesn't cure you, it just resets your template. So I have a sort of a view periodically doing it, but not continuously, like every year. You don't sort of have to do it, but periodically just to update my template. So if a really nasty strain comes along, my body's a bit more familiar with the previous second year strain or whatever, so I can actually deal with it. That's the only reason. Or even on that year, if a really nasty one hits the northern hemisphere, then I may go, I may just update my template, and that's about it. And it's no different when you're in a living environment where you're coming into interacting with bacteria and stuff like that and all sorts of things. You're actually updating your template each time, in a sense. It's just a man-made version of updating to avoid worse symptoms, especially if you're in the older age bracket. Younger person probably doesn't need it, but if you're in that older age bracket where you may have underlying conditions and stuff like that, I usually say do it. Like my dad, who's 85, and I know a lot of my relatives have died in their older age from pneumonia and stuff like that. Tends to be more susceptible in the family. So I usually say, for you guys do it. But for younger people, it's not required. It's, why waste your time? It's better to just get the damn thing. You're strong and robust. You can deal with it and stuff like that. It's only people with really underlying serious conditions, and we've seen that everywhere, It's or a vitamin D, poor vitamin D status, which is the other thing. It's like 70% of people with darker skin in Sweden. The latest information also is coming out of Britain as well, that it's a high percentage again of subcontinent people, and they have because people don't go out, they don't basically sunbake, they don't do all these sort of things, they have suboptimal. So they have half the levels of what a lot of the lighter skinned people have. So that's an issue for those communities. That's why the death rate is much higher amongst those communities. It's a respiratory infection.
Nanomotors all messed up, Harry. Can't have that, can we?
No.
No, deuterium as well, jamming up the nanomotors and adding the virus. Yep.
Yeah, look. That's the thing, but it's not a horrendous amount. I mean, you're more likely to if you sit behind a car, the exhaust from the car, you're probably going to get more damage that way in the body in terms of heavy metals and other stuff than what you'll get from something like that. But as I said, I look at it that sometimes it's better to get it if you're robust, because there are a number of other advantages in the way your body's going to respond and develop, a much broader type immunity, because they are selective what they put in the preparation, and so you don't get the same sort of effect. The other thing is that I'm concerned about is a lot of people that have a lot of interactions in the past. So people hugging each other, kissing each other and all that. There's transfer of a lot of different viruses in smaller loads. And that actually helps, protect the immune system. When you're not exposing yourself on a daily basis, it means that, in a year's time, you may come in contact with a bacterium or something like that, which is mutated in a certain way, which may be, especially today's people that have poor diets, may be far more pathogenic. And I'm concerned about that side of things as well. We're focused on the virus, but we're ignoring, the sort of the arms race with bacteria as well that we have on this planet. So there's a lot of other issues. It's a bit more complicated. We've become I've taken this thing a bit too serious, haven't I?
Yeah. In the background, Harry, it turns out the sun is racist.
Yeah, it is.
We'd actually forgotten that one with milk as well. Apparently milk is also racist as well as rape-based, Jared.
Mm-hmm.
So shocking, really.
Yes.
Yep.
So really all three of us are, we're really bad people. I've just realised that. I've just...
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty white bread stream, I have to say.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all going to have to go vegan and repent for our sins. I'll absolutely be the first one to cut my own genitalia off with a blunt knife as part of the ceremony, because emasculation is part of the process. It's very important to be able to cope with what's coming next.
That's the least you could do, mate.
Well, exactly. I mean, having been such a bigot for such an extended period of time, my penance is going to be.
I personally believe that there are no redeemable characteristics to masculinity as evidenced by toxic masculinity, and there are also no redeemable characteristics for femininity as characterized by feminism proving that women can do everything men can do.
Right, so everyone's a cunt, basically, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Hey, especially you Canadians with all your white snow.
Yeah, and could I have been more misogynistic there had I wanted to? I think that was great. That will go in the highlights. I think Michelle will use that in one of her anecdotes against me, won't she? She's just gonna...
I would consider it a matter of personal pride if I was accidentally featured on one of her videos tearing you down. That would be great.
Awesome. She'll be going, oh, who's this lad with his rape-based drink? Rapist, she'd say, wouldn't she?
No, Shell, milk is racist because certain people of certain heritages have more difficulty digesting it than others.
Yeah. In the same way that the education system is racist.
Yes.
And, whatever else.
In the same way, literally anything is racist just by calling it that in today's political climate.
Mate, if you disagree with the high priests, you're a bigot. Just accept it. Accept to live by those standards.
Yeah, this is I definitely value the science denial that we all partake in on this stream as well.
Yeah,
we're pretty bad in that regard. Yeah, We don't believe anything.
Yeah.
I mean, just listen to Bart. He is always basically saying there is no science. He's a denier. He's a denier. Michelle's actually correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a Nazi, apparently.
The witch is correct.
Bart doesn't believe in science the same way that I don't believe in ghosts.
That's it.
There's no such thing as science.
No. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's very superficial of you, Shell. I think you should stay behind afterwards and have a discussion with we three middle-class bigoted men. You bring the dusters, love. We'll sort you out.
Don't encourage her.
I know she'll fucking turn up.
With her whiskey and her weed.
Yeah.
She will.
Yeah. We're still waiting for her to send a photo of her wearing her very fine Bart Kay t-shirt. I said add the hose, but we'll see.
Yes.
Okay.
I need to order myself one of those. Maybe actually I should probably get a toque.
Yeah. Maybe I should make one that says it buys the Bart Kay t-shirt or it gets the hose again. We know Shell. Now we're talking. There you go. See, she'll show up for that meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then we'll all shit ourselves, won't we? Because we won't know what to do with her.
Yeah, you're right, T1.
By the time I know what to do, she's probably already eaten your head off, Harry. She's probably already chewed that off.
She probably would.
Yeah. Anyway, that's another story.
Yes.
Yeah. Harut reckons our genes are what the problem are. Our genes are racist, apparently. There
Must be. Well, if Harut thinks that, he's probably right. Yeah. I've been told that. Nothing I can do about it, And the worst thing is, if I paint myself any other color, I'll still be called a bigot, for painting myself another color. So I can't win. So I've given up.
You can. Yeah, didn't know to just cut your genitals off with a blunt knife, Harry.
Okay. Is that the trick?
Enjoy the state of enlightenment. Enjoy the soy.
I will have to do that. Kibble and yes. Well, we don't need that. I mean, if you're not getting the nutrition, why bother having it? It's superfluous.
Quite exactly.
It's an additional weight and burden, hanging off you. So yeah, you're right.
It's a parasite, Harry. That's what it is. It's a parasite. We are having fun today, aren't we, boys and girls?
No. I want to comment on Luke's comment there, but
I'll put it back up.
I feel I was going to say I want to, but I don't know. It's dangerous making jokes about these things right now.
You're a cappuccino, aren't you, Lucas?
But Luke, no, you're clearly not white, or you couldn't be the diversity hire on Bart's stream like that. So
exactly,
we need you not to be.
Exactly, you're not, because basically, otherwise we lose the diversity angle or element. Mm-hmm. It's the reason I wanted you on.
It's also
balance these three bigots here.
Yeah, it's also clearly because we are white and we're gatekeeping whiteness.
That's it. Yeah. No. You mean as in the diet?
Maybe he's talking about honey. They need a bit of honey.
Yeah.
Am I giving you cardinal thoughts?
Do you mean sugar or sugar?
Exactly. Goodness.
Oh, actually, a serious question. What do you guys say about the statement, the carnivore diet is not for women?
I wonder what would underpin a statement of that nature. What would they back that up with? I can't think of a single reason why it isn't.
Yeah,
I mean, just facetiously say, no, it isn't for women, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing is that women actually need more fat because of their high fat stores than even men. So why would and that's the reason why they crave sometimes sugar. It's not because it's ideal for them. It's because they don't have enough energy. They need more energy. They need to support a much broader hormonal system than men. Genetically, I'm more similar to another male from another country or even another racial group, different Hoppler group or whatever, than what I am to a woman that's in the same Hoppler group, the same sort of ethnic group. That's how different, in terms of a lot of this, some of the biochemistry. And it's only post-menopause or some of this sort of stuff, the similarities become a bit more pronounced, but not entirely. So, and that's where all these sort of arguments come from. And I just say, up your fat and most of your cravings will go away. But I do get some kickback from some women. They don't want to give. They don't want to give up their honey.
No.
Their sweetness.
Yeah, or their nut butter in my case.
That's radical. God. That's another option. That's another option for you, Bart.
You lead the way on that one, and then I'll decide if I want to follow based on your results.
You first. Yeah.
Tell us the experience. We'll bring you on. You can explain it to us and give us a bit of a rundown.
Mm-hmm.
And
goodness, it's very racist of them to say that you're not black. Yeah, be black and be proud, Lucas, or be white, or be cappuccino.
I'll have to get my kibble before.
I cannot believe that this is an issue in 2020. I really can't.
Which issue?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
Which issue?
The issue of the color of somebody's skin in 2020.
Yeah.
I can't believe that this is still an issue for anybody.
Yeah, I thought it was enough to not be racist simply by not being racist, but boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, look, it's still people bring it up on both sides of the political fence. Still people bring it up, which is absolutely crazy in that regard. If you think, what is it? I mean, melanin inside is just the curvature is slightly different in different, and it actually does change. So when you actually get your sunbake, and it'll actually change, and it's actually the reflection in the angle of that melanin in the actual skin that actually will change the color that's perceived. That's all it is. You turn off the lights, we're all the same, in a sense.
We're all pink inside, Harry.
And inside as well. But, it's just crazy sort of stuff that, anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, what do you guys think about the theory? I've sort of and ahed about it, that when Homo sapiens came out of Africa and moved into other parts and started interacting with Denovians and Neanderthals, that Neanderthals and Denovians already had, because they were in a colder climate, already had lighter skin, and that interaction basically gave us. There's an argument that the time limit in terms of this sort of genetic drift or whatever, that it possibly came from these groups that we interacted with. Any thoughts?
I don't know anything about that. I would need to go and read all that material to have any opinion. It's
an interesting hypothesis. The problem is we don't have enough genetic material from those populations. That they've actually found some. They've found some material, but it's in the early stage. It hasn't been basically properly mapped like we did the Human Genome Project. They have to do a sort of a Neanderthal genome project and a Denovian one properly before we really know exactly. They've only done little bits here and there in research, but not enough for us to really say anything about it. But it's interesting. Yep.
Shell is a sexually aggressive cougar. She said so at 11:16.
Oops, I just went past it.
She did.
Not that one.
Oops, not that one. Oh, 11:16. Becky.
Carnivore has made me into a sexually aggressive cougar, she says.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey? She will
That's
show
the
up with the
That's the hedonism of the diet.
Yeah, she'll pick the youngest bloke of the pack first.
Now I'm second guessing why she was trying to court me with whiskey and weed.
That's it. That's
well,
it. That's exactly it.
That'd work on pretty much any of us, I think, Shell. I don't know about the weed for you, Harry, but the rest of us would go for that with some, because we also need the alcohol so that we can digest our meat. You see.
Yeah. The weed fiber as well. Yeah. Don't forget the weed fiber.
Quite right too. Powerbird says blackbirds' lives matter.
They do.
At 17 minutes past.
Oops.
There you go. Some good inputs there from the bigots in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yes, Birdbrain would come up with something like that.
Yeah, he would.
I thought he was T2.
T2, yes. Yeah, he's as funny as fuck, that guy. Yeah. But I'm not going to reveal it, by the way. Some people who are in the know, but this week I made a stunning discovery. I found out the underlying true identity of Frank Tafanas's duct-taped hamster.
Who is it?
I'm not telling. You have to join my Discord to find out. I'll tell you, Harry. I know you don't want to join the Discord. Craziness.
You can type it in the private chat.
I could. Yep. Perhaps I will. Then the three of us will all be in the know.
Sounds like a good idea.
There you go. One word answer in the private chat.
I'm for some reason not surprised.
Okay.
I'm heartened by that, if anything.
Yeah, we should have known, shouldn't we, really? We should have known.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I wonder if he'll show up here on this stream at some point now as an experiment. Anyway, what else is happening with these bigots in the chat?
Yeah, that's a question for you, mate. Can gluconeogenesis feed cancer in any amount?
Gluconeogenesis being firmly in my belief a demand-driven process, given that cancerous cells are using glucose at sometimes 10 times the rate of their non-cancerous counterparts, I would say the answer to your question is yes. Because those cells will be pulling sugar out of the blood at an incredible rate. The liver will be detecting that and going, I need to produce more glucose via gluconeogenesis. So it does.
Exactly.
Demand driven. There you go.
Yeah. Good question. And on top of that, it'll recycle lactate. It'll recycle everything. It'll even penetrate into other and scavenge anything that it can from other cells, including energy. I
love it when things like penetrate, Harry.
I use those special words just to bring the excitement.
Bart, your sense of humor is truly cancerous, it seems.
It is.
It uses a lot of sugar up. Is that what you say?
That's what I need then. I need some to save my life.
Right.
Next time I'm in a head-on collision, I know what I'll have to use.
Yeah. Have you got kids, Harry?
No.
No kids.
Nah.
Okay, I have a good little anecdote along those lines of that joke. We'd saved my life. I could have been married with children by now. An anecdote. Probably it would have been over 10 years ago. It was near to when I first started smoking weed. There was a girl who was chasing after me, and I was kind of put off by how aggressive she was being, I guess. And she ultimately stopped when she found out that I smoked weed. She didn't want to be around that. And I saw her again probably like 10 or 11 months pregnant, or like 10 or 11 months later, and she was way pregnant. And ever since then, my friends and I have just been like, whoo.
Yep, there was a bullet dodge. Yes.
Maybe. Or a bullet blocked directly by cannabis
That's
use.
it.
I have had a lifelong relationship with cannabis, and it has never got fat in that time. I've had many other long-term relationships with entities other than cannabis over a number of years, and I can't say the same. Cannabis wins.
Yes, I have a vial here of. This is just homemade MCT oil. Definitely doesn't have any cannabis in it because I wouldn't want to put that type of thing on stream.
Excellent. Good.
Well, it doesn't surprise me with Shell.
Yeah.
Was this the difference between dried and raw versus commercial isolated stuff? I'd actually, you can actually get bottled, like you can actually get whey in a liquid form from a farmer. So if you want that extra anabolic effect, because you get approximately nearly double the anabolic effect or the insulin spike that you would get from pure glucose with whey. So if you want to use it as a just before you start, half an hour before you do some reps, yep, that's when it should be used. It should be never used after you want a long sustained type. After that, and the commercial stuff, I just don't like them. The high in deuterium, which is one thing. Anything processed is, and also you don't know what they've actually put in. They have all sorts of fillers, which are probably not the best thing to use. Any other views, guys? Probably.
I mean, I definitely don't know it as esoterically as you, but just my own ethic around foodstuffs, I suppose, would lead me to the same conclusion that I would prefer the one that's minimally processed.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't take any of those kind of supplemental anythings anyway. I get all the nutrition I require from my diet.
Right. But I mean, in my case, I have whey around sometimes because Corinne, my fiance, makes cheese out of whole milk that we have, right, out of raw milk. So I could drink that, I guess. It's just
she has magic powers.
Well, Jared,
does she float?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm afraid to ask questions that I don't want the answers to.
Yeah,
good idea.
It's nobody expects the Inquisition.
Yes,
yeah, that's the bird. Yep.
They definitely do have that sort of stuff. That's one of the old sweeteners anyway. Still around. So she'll quit smoking ciggies, which is a good thing. Makes a difference. I mean, I stopped, what is it now? God, about 2 decades ago in my no, it was actually, was it? I can't remember exactly. It was either 30, around 37 I was at the time. And I'd been smoking from the age of 15. So yeah, I was a bit of a big smoker. And that was hard to give up, that habit. I'm happy that I did.
Yeah, no, good. And good on you for staying away from it too.
Oh, look, occasionally I have been known to celebrate with a cigar, a Cuban cigar, occasionally.
A little bit. Yeah, hand in your badge and gun.
Well, it has multiple uses. As Bill Clinton learned, it has multiple uses.
I mean, it's all nicotine, but I think there is some nuance to be had between a cigar, which is primarily drawn into your mouth and then exhaled, versus a cigarette.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, that's rough, Shell. I likewise have healing lungs, so I can relate to difficulty breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, a lot of people. I mean, that sometimes I've actually noticed when I used to smoke, when I actually consumed more pork, which is I had more B1 thiamine in my diet, I could breathe much better. So, but when I didn't, my sort of my breathing sort of was more impaired.
Mm.
So if people should keep that in mind, if they still can't kick the habit, or they're smoking the weed or whatever else, make sure you have pork in your diet as the key food to give you that additional thiamine.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that I notice I have a very sharp palate for smoking weed, I guess, which is a blessing and a curse that I'm great for quality control, I guess. But it means that 99% of weed I find too harsh. But the growing method absolutely matters for how it is to smoke. And I think that it's not too big of a logical leap to say that the health benefits or consequences would also be affected by that.
Yeah.
Look. I look at the Japanese, and they smoke like heathens, some of them, and don't tend to have it. Well, in the past, before 20 years ago, when they introduced seed oils, they didn't have as much the cancer rates or the cardiovascular issues that other countries had. And the Eskimos or Inuit, however you want to call them, they as a population used to smoke, and also from childhood. So they didn't want to deprive their own kids smoking. And even Stefansson pointed this out.
Where did they get anything to smoke from?
Well, they would trade with other tribes in the when they actually the caribou sort of movements towards the south, as they came in from the more polar sort of areas, and they would basically trade at the same time as they actually had access for about 1 or 2 months. They had some access to some berries as well in those sort of regions, which they used to dry out and take with them. But primarily, they used to basically get a lot of that. And so it was actually quite interesting that they consumed, and the only vitamin C that they did get was at the time, basically from seal meat, and from especially like whale, the whale skin is very high in vitamin C as well. So that's where they primarily got that, but they were known to be heavy smokers. But when researchers looked at them, they basically had, they didn't even have a word for cancer. And so you didn't have any of this sort of stuff. And I think their diet was protective, just simple as that. Because yes, we don't have the research. It's sort of, it's an association. It's definitely an association. But, when we look around the world, it's like a lot of things, drinking or smoking or stuff like that. They are indiscretions, but when you compare one population between another population, you see higher levels of disease than in another population. So I do think that diet plays an important role in how damaging these substances are to your health.
There you go, boys and girls. Just more anecdotes. That's all they've got over there. Just anecdotes. Hey, with that, I'm going to patch out, boys. Enjoy the rest of your stream. Have a good time. Keep these bigots here in line. Make sure they behave themselves. And we'll catch up with you all very, very soon. I'm going to go and help him with the house is what I'm going to do.
Thanks,
the Queen. Look after the Queen. Yep. See you, mate.
Yep. All right. We'll see you.
Ted.
All right. Bye-bye, boys and girls. Bye-bye. Oops, Ted's a bit see-through today. Perhaps he's been on a vegan diet. All right. See you later.
Well, those two clowns have gone. I can say it now.
Yeah, I've got another half hour, 45 minutes in me, I think.
Yeah, not a problem, mate. So smoke for 37. Lucky, no cough or anything. That's good, I used to get, by the time, because I'd actually already smoked for about 2 decades, I was starting to get like those when I didn't get a really, those sort of coughs that people talk about. But when I used to get a cold or the flu or something like that, oh boy, did I get some bad.
Turn into bronchitis kind of thing.
Oh yeah, exactly. Into a sort of a mild bronchitis.
Yeah.
And I really used to struggle. And once I gave up the smokes, it took me probably about 5 years before, and it was slowly before I started having better lung capacity and things started improving. So it does take a couple of years to clear out. So it's not going to happen immediately. Some people it can take longer. It depends on how poor their diet is, their lifestyle, all sorts of other factors, whether they're in an environment that's very high in things like mold or other things, so they have multiple assaults on their body. So it does vary in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Relating to being fumigated in the back of a car. Yeah, I had parents like that too.
I think if you go back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, most people can actually, because I grew up, I was a 70s kid, pretty much, so in the late 70s, I was sort of what was it then, 13, so 12 or 13, around there. I was at the late 70s, so I was pretty much a late 70s, early 80s type child, or young person, or whatever you want to call me. Yes, very interesting era. Good music, that's one thing.
I was a little bit behind that, but the place I'm from culturally lags 15 or 20 years behind the mainstream. So,
all those basically Bart bigot fans. It doesn't surprise me, T1, you would vape. You would basically make so much basically smoke, it doesn't damn surprise me at all.
It's funny. I used to have a good productive cough from smoking weed. And then my weed source changed and I had to quit smoking it. Basically, it was not the same at all.
Oops. Yes. Look, I think a lot of my father used to smoke indoors as well with us around, and he also had one of those the Arab type. He actually even went and bought himself one of those water smokers. Those one of those, and this was, how old was he then? He was in his 30s.
Yeah,
I think late 30s or early 40s. I can't remember now. It's a while ago, and we were really young kids at the time. Somewhere between 6 and 8. I can't remember exactly. It's a long time ago. But Dad used to just sit there in the corner in the evenings and just smoke that thing away while he was reading something.
Yeah, he was vaping before it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. He was vaping before it was cool.
That's what shisha does if you're burning it properly on a hookah, right? Because you have the coal is separated from the material that you're burning.
That's it.
So it's not actually igniting directly; it's just heating it, and you're boiling the essential oils out and inhaling that. It's the exact same principle as vaporizing weed flower.
Yeah, it is. If you think about it, it is a very much along that sort of approach. Yeah, I sort of sometimes forget that when people sort of bring it back to me. Oh, yeah, it is similar to vaping in a sense, or in one regard. Yeah, there you go. He was ahead of his time.
It may have certain benefits because you're vaping instead of igniting it, and then you're pulling it over water as well. So you're going to pull out, like, most of the particulate matter would be gone, but you're inhaling so much more of it because of that. It's so condensed. that I'm not sure it's actually any better than smoking.
Yeah, look, I think vaping is a bit different in some other respects as well. That there are potential risks as well with some
Yeah,
of
and
the
it's important
oils.
to it's important to make the distinction between vaping in terms of like heating something sub ignition versus vaping something on a coil that's heating like glycerin or MCT oil or something that you're inhaling directly. That's a
Yeah,
different. There should be a different terminology for them. They're not really the
yeah.
same thing.
No, they're not, and I think there's far more danger when it comes to burning lipids in that way,
Yes, I
and
agree.
and those incorporating into the lungs can be really damaging and reactive.
Yes.
Especially some of the PUFA based ones, they are the most reactive in terms of, because you're literally taking off all these electrons, and then that goes in, and they literally are interacting and pulling electrons off all over the place in your lungs. I think that's why some people get really some severe sort of effects by some of them. They've had like severe damage to their lungs. I have heard that some people have died as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There was the reports like last year of the like acute vaping related illness being problematically related to vitamin E oil being added in as a
That's
thickening
right.
agent.
Yeah, and because the
But I
problem
think
is,
that was more to do with like black market and poor access to
okay,
a safe regulated product kind of thing.
okay. So that's what it was. Yeah, I didn't read, because it's not my sort of scene.
Yeah, no, me
So,
neither.
yeah, so I didn't really get into it in any big way in that regard. But yeah, it's interesting. I miss those old ashtray designs. Yeah, they were quite cute. That's true. Some of them, I remember. Some of them were quite artistic, or because that had a really nice one as well. There was one that was sort of ceramic, and it was a really nice one. It was a rounded type ceramic with these little copper type holding points on it, and it had some sort of like a coloured mural on around the base of it. So it was actually, yeah, it was. They were quite interesting back then. I mean, nowadays people are not really into that, but I don't know. Maybe they were either collectors items nowadays. Oops, it just jumped when I tried to click on it. That's the one. Maybe.
Yeah, the popcorn lung thing seems to be related to glycerin vapor specifically, and I'm not even sure that's. I haven't seen convincing proof of causation there. It's just there seem to be some kids who develop some respiratory problems from vaping. Who knows what?
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, so to even comment. And I don't think there's any science either out there. It's just
I've been just anecdotes. I've been interested in nicotine as a nootropic for a few years, but I don't really see a benefit to including it if you don't already have a dependence to it, I guess. And apart from maybe like a transdermal skin patch or something, I don't really know of a way that I feel safe getting it into my body without other additives, because the only two ways really that people talk about are, well, I guess you get gum. But yeah, smoking or vaping, which I'm not interested in doing.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't go back to that sort of stuff. I think that the damage that you do to your lungs, if you want to have good ability, a long life, I would recommend most people, stay away from that sort of stuff as much as possible, or keep it to a minimum in that regard. Younger people are probably more robust, but it's at the end of the day, it's your choice, and yep. So exactly, I think that's what I heard as well, that it was a vitamin E acetate type thing.
Yeah, I heard it was that specifically in black market weed cartridges. But I'm not sure about that either. That could easily just be a narrative that's meant to sort of vilify any kind of a black market product like that.
Hey, you need to go to the Canadian boss The Canadian boss can furnish you with any good quality stuff.
I'll drink to that.
I thought you would.
Caffeine and nootropic. I think it counts. I think it does. The reason I just mentioned nicotine as a nootropic is because, strictly speaking, for dose response and for not having a paradoxical fatigue associated with it, nicotine is one of the most reliable stimulants as a nootropic.
And the same thing with caffeine in that regard. But it does vary between people as well. So because there is a genetic pathway which I have a certain type where I can actually consume up to 4 times. So my 4 times is equivalent to a person's 1 time, which is the other extreme. And then there's everybody in the middle. So it can have varying. That's the detoxification pathway in the liver. So, cytochrome P450 sort of how that acts on caffeine, but. And that also means that the sort of stimulating effects can be very different between people as well. So it's one of those nootropics that can have varying effects on different people. From it's a blip, you don't even feel it, to somebody who can get some level of heart palpitations. That's the vast difference when it comes with nicotine. It's very similar with everyone, so it's a bit different in that regard. The two have that difference in effect in the body because of these genetic pathways. From what I understand, that's just an opinion of mine. In moderation, just like sugar.
Moderation is such a cop-out friggin' advice. It's ridiculous. It might be good for you, just don't have too much.
Hey, we're talking about grandpa here, mate.
The black market milk. Canadian? That's me, Canadian from Canada.
Depends how you vape. Yes, there could be multiple different ways, a bit like cigars. Ask Bill about that.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing with vaping as a substitute for cigarettes is that you can increase the nicotine content or decrease the nicotine content of your vape juice, right? I'm saying this as someone I've never been into that culture. I've never vaped this stuff, but as a tool to reduce addiction by providing gradual decline in the withdrawal like that, it makes sense that it should be accessible to people, I think. Now, the problem is obviously most people don't approach it that way. They don't approach vaping as a means of quitting smoking. They just keep vaping all the time. So,
yeah, and this is the other extreme from what I am, that people that are really sensitive to caffeine. So yeah, it's usually people, mostly I find people from the British Isles and parts of Scandinavia. Those parts had far less exposure to caffeine in the past, where the Middle East and the Mediterranean basin, parts of Central Europe, due to the Roman Empire, had more access to coffee for longer periods of time. So they have a better adaptation. But, Scandinavia didn't, the British Isles really didn't much probably England probably had a bit more, but not much. So there are variations, and most people I usually find from those sort of backgrounds that usually always mention, it gives me heart palpitations, and I go, yeah, probably because your ancestors didn't really consume much until very recent. That is usually the issue. What's Luki asking? What do you guys think about someone arguing that carnivore are saturated fat addicts because fat messes with your limbic system?
Well, I mean, I have a very strong and reliable and consistent dopamine response to inhaling oxygen. And I think I should probably start trying to wean myself off of breathing to reduce my addictive tendency there.
Yeah, it's just nonsense.
Yes.
It's just basically nonsense, And let alone most meat, like tallow, for instance, it's only 50% saturated. The other about 42% is monounsaturated, and then there's PUFA, which is very little. Probably the only high saturated foods are dairy, which is in the sort of 60% to 70%, and then coconut, which palm oil, which is also in the sort of dairy sort of range, and then you've got coconut oil, which is in the sort of 90s sort of level.
Yeah.
But and there have been populations that have been living off this for how many thousands and thousands of years. So yeah, it's just more nonsense, reductionist nonsense and stuff like that. I don't know where these people come up with these things. And when you actually challenge them and say, "Where's your study?" Really clinical study, they sort of run because they've got nothing. They never comment back. So I usually just say, well, post your study that actually shows clinically that this is what it's causing, and you never get a reply back. So it's all these veg tarts, they just go around putting these stupid questions all over the internet because they're hoping that because we've already had the fat phobia from the 70s until now, so they're just reinforcing that thought, maybe, people always, it's even when I sort of transitioned to a more meat-based diet, I sort of was, worried, am I getting too much animal fat in? There's still that lingering thing in the background.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's what they're playing on, these people. So...
I was having a discussion with somebody who was skeptical about keto diets, and her first question about it was, doesn't it mean eating a lot of saturated fat? And I couldn't even engage very much with her. It's just, if you're not prepared to challenge what you've heard about saturated fat, then probably don't bother trying a keto diet.
Yeah, exactly. That's the weird thing when people ask you that and they go, what? And even some people in the keto and low carb community have issues with, even to this day, have issues with saturated fat.
Yeah, I still see people say like, I had to stop keto because my cholesterol was getting too high and my doctor was worried.
Exactly. And you go, what the hell?
Yeah, you were willing to challenge the nutrition dogma to the point of being willing to try a keto diet and getting more calories from saturated fat, but you didn't go farther and examine for yourself the meaning behind lipids and cholesterol numbers.
Precisely. And some people respond more, especially when they're lean, they will be more hyper responding. Mm-hmm. And also,
that's me.
Some people, yep. And also people that have got the ApoE 4.4 or 4.3 or 4.2 tend to be more hyper responders. So you look at about a third of the population there. Not a third. Slightly less, about a quarter of the population there. But it's still a significant amount of people that have, it may be high, I can't remember now exactly. Anyway, don't quote me. Please don't quote me. But it's where I'm a 3.3, and even when I'm eating a lot of saturated fat, my cholesterol doesn't really go high. So when I get tested, it's always in the sort of what they consider the normal range. And sometimes if I eat too much like eggs and stuff like that, I can push it down to the very low levels as well, to into the 3s millimoles. So, and this is why I was called, when I turned up a decade ago for my cardiovascular issues, I was called a 5% anomaly, a 5% paradox. I shouldn't be here. I've got perfect lipids, perfect triglycerides, all this sort of stuff. So I didn't have high triglycerides. I didn't have high total cholesterol. I didn't have high LDL.
But the
I still had cardiovascular disease.
Calcification was still there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely garbage.
Mm-hmm.
The body knows how to regulate the lipid system. As long as you're not assaulting you're not glycating your proteins and fats with a whole lot of fructose in particular, sugar generally, but fructose in particular, which is about 7 times in terms of like threshold, it's about 4.7. In terms of direct effect on the glycation effect on lipids, it's believed to be around about 7 times. So that's the actual direct glycating effect, not the actual like the volume, but the actual direct glycating seems to be way higher, and that's why refined sugars are so nasty and bad for your proteins. They create all this stickiness. But unfortunately, that message never got to the majority of people, and it's still ignored to this day. It's just crazy stuff.
Well, I quite like the taste of salt, so I will be assaulting my fat.
Good. Nice one.
That one's for Bart in his absence. I know how much he hates terrible puns.
He does. I've always said the real comedian amongst that between that crowd is Ted. It's not Bart.
Yeah, he gets all his material whispered to him from Ted.
Exactly.
Oui, je parle français un peu. J'ai pris l'immersion français pendant l'école secondaire, mais je dois pratiquer.
Yeah, so he's got a sub-practical knowledge of French, is what he said.
Yes. I said, yes, I speak French a bit. I took French immersion until high school, but I need to practice it more. It comes back pretty easily when I start practicing it more often. I just don't have the opportunity or need right now. And it's ironic, too, because I was actually taught Parisian French in school, is like the grammatical structure, the conjugation structure that they teach you and pronunciation as well. In school where I am is actually Parisian French, right? But New Brunswick borders on Quebec, and most of Canada's French population speaks like a Quebec French, which is it's very different than Parisian French. It's like the best analogy I've heard is like two people from France, people from Quebec sound like the Deep South sounds like to us. It's like a very rural, like kind of uneducated sounding accent, I guess, to some people.
Okay.
But I'm not meaning to judge it that way, but all I'm saying is that the pronunciation and cadence of the language is very different in Quebec than it is from France, to the point that I can barely communicate with like Canadian French people with my French, but then I can watch like a French movie from France and understand, 75% of what's being said. So.
There you go, guys. You've got the answer, and T2 is spot on the money. It's severe brainwashing. God, something intelligent from bird brain. Fuck me. So actually, even in keto, coconut oil can increase intestinal permeability. Quote from Dr. I'm not sure exactly, Saba Toth. Okay, tell that to the Polynesians that have been consuming the shit for decades upon decades upon decades upon decades upon decades upon decades, or hundreds and hundreds of years. I doubt it. Sort of It's just that a lot of that sort of stuff is all associational. You'll find it basically in a lot of associational studies. What was it? What else were they consuming? So it's claptrap. These people it's nonsense. Because if something was causing these sort of problems from way back, it would have been identified. And I know from what's his name? There's a guy that actually worked for the World Health Organization, who's part of the keto community. He's a New Zealander academic from Auckland University, and he actually worked with a lot of these islanders and did a lot of the actual research and tests on these people, and realized himself that these people are so healthy. Why are we bringing this sort of advice to these people when they have no health issues? So he looked at all this. They looked at basically stores. They looked at all sorts of things in that regard. So, yeah, it's a non-issue. But people are going to make up anything they like. I think the biggest problem for Westerners, especially Northern Europeans and Central Europeans, is salicylate issues. That means that you have not been exposed to foods in your past that were high in salicylates. The Mediterranean people, we're all pretty much 100% salicylate proof. So I can eat anything with salicylates in it, I won't get any reaction. But you can find varying degrees of salicylate sort of sensitivity in other populations. So, obviously, I usually say, if you're basically a Northern European, why are you not consuming tallow and other animal fats, which traditionally you would have, because there was very little, even seasonal sugar was at a premium in those sort of climates. So before agriculture, that is. So just doesn't make sense in that regard. But yeah, look, people just use all this sort of a associational claptrap. Yes, wise words, exactly. That's what we need to stick to. All that matters is that you can game the cholesterol system to get the insurance incentive. Exactly.
Yeah, that's something that I will struggle with when it comes time that I want to start a life insurance policy on myself. I mean, I'll have to take on a protocol to lower my cholesterol.
Yep, exactly. Well, the Dave Feldman type approach is what you need to apply.
Followed by a nice extended fast to undo that.
Exactly. But you do it. You get your insurance policy. You keep it. You tick all the boxes. It's unfortunate that we have to do this sort of crazy sort of stuff.
I'm really reluctant to even bother doing it, which is why I haven't at this point. It's just because of that I don't feel the trade-off for the damage that I could do to my body following a protocol like that, even in the short term, is worth it at the moment.
Yeah, look, precisely. I sort of sympathise with that. I'm not going to basically. It's like I'll go out and I'll have basically a steak or something like that, but other people will have other things, and you're supposed to be sort of sociable. But I just sort of, I just ignore the food element, or I may even say if there's absolutely no food that I can really eat, I may just turn around and just say, oh, look, I've already had a meal. I'm not hungry. Thank you. I'll just have a drink. And I'll just stick to a couple of drinks and keep it at that, be sociable, and then go from there. Because sometimes, because especially a lot of these meals, they're just cooked in seed oils.
Yeah, that's, I traveled to the Toronto area for Christmas, because that's where Corinne's family's from. So we were visiting her family for Christmas, and stopped at a steakhouse on the road on the way up. And my first question is, what do you fry your steaks in? And they said canola oil. And I said, no follow-up questions then.
Exactly.
Because even if they're willing to fry my steak in butter or whatever, they're still going to be cooking it on a grill that has tons and tons of polymerized canola oil on it.
Exactly.
I'm not going to, for the sake of one meal, to not be hungry, fuck it. I'm just going to fast and not bother damaging myself like that.
Yeah, especially when you know that it takes 4 to 6 years to clear that shit out.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's not like sugar. I always try to remind people sugar is bad, but it's not like sugar. Sugar will clear out in a couple of days. You know, if you assault your body with a piece of cake or whatever, yeah. But even with cakes nowadays, you have to be very careful because some of the cakes actually have seed oils in them as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So especially the commercial ones that people buy. Somebody does a homemade one, but then even a homemade one, there's a potential that they may have used oil as well from the recipe. So you don't know. It's really, it's a problem. It's a worry, to do that. And as like yourself, I don't want to basically assault my body. Why would I?
Oh, was that comment from Blinkers about my French? You're welcome, Blinkers.
Further down.
Just where he said OMG, Jared. Yeah.
Okay.
Quebec French is terrible. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's terrible. I mean, I don't. Well, first of all, in Canada, you have to be politically careful because I don't want to sound like I'm francophobic. Because my family comes from like 50% French heritage. I'm so hateful of French people. But yeah, no, Quebec people are difficult to understand compared to Parisian French.
Yep. It's sort of this is about the proteolytic enzymes. Yep, it does clear out dead tissue. So this derives from a silkworm, and it does actually clear out dead tissue. So it's good actually to sort of clear out, junk in your body in that regard.
Serapeptase, I haven't heard of that.
Look, I'll do, because I take a proteolytic enzyme because it's the one that I actually mentioned last time. I'll have to do something in regards just to show some of the research on it in that regard. So it's like a lot of things. Not a lot of this research you have to realize is it's all done on rats. You won't find it on humans because it's not ethical.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's still a mammal, and all these enzymes do work very similar in all mammals. Okay, it's different about diet. Foods are different, but a virus, a bacterium, an enzyme will work in a very similar way. Okay, It breaks down things and it builds things up. That's what enzymes do. Okay, there are protein molecules that either break things down or build things up. So, or do certain conversion functions and other things like that. That's their purpose in life.
When you're talking about direct effects on physiology, that's exactly analogous between and shared between mammals. That's, like you said, that's different than studying foods in isolation or
Exactly. Yeah, because animals eat different foods and they have different because these are proteolytic enzymes. We're not talking about enzymes to hydrolyze molecules of food. So there are so your lipases and all these other your amylase, all these other enzymes, they are to hydrolyze nutrients. So that's a completely different ball game. Not all enzymes do have similar roles. So let's not confuse the two types. These are proteolytic enzymes that do a number of other biological functions in the body, and this one does have the ability to clear scar tissue. I know that athletes use it. So when they actually have injuries and have scar tissues, they take this sort of supplement for that purpose as well. So there's a number of different ones out there anyway. But I will go through them at some stage. So I suspect that's for you, mate.
Yes. Yeah, he's just saying the same thing I did, basically, that he just doesn't have anyone to practice with, so he doesn't feel his French is all that great. But still he tries.
See you, Bo. Yes, we heard you. We know. You're as bad as Ted. Always trying to get into the conversation. Yep.
Just trying to see if I can get her to come in, but she's not. She's just flirting around in the hallway out there.
Okay, this is Paleomedicina that actually looked at this. Yeah, look, if it's not in your diet, if something's not in your diet, it could basically react differently. But I think a lot of the people that actually are paleomedicina type people are people that have already got a number of gut issues, all sorts of health issues. They're not your run-of-the-mill people that have got no health issues whatsoever. So that's another factor in it as well. G'day, Butter. It's usually gut-related issues from salicylates or skin-related issues. It depends. It seems to be a bit different for different people. I've even heard somebody say that they had respiratory, but I cannot confirm that. So it just, some people, it just rubs them the wrong way. I don't know why. There are variations. So it's, I don't think it's only that you don't have an adaptation. So most people that have never been exposed to salicylates don't have an adaptation, but then even amongst those people, it varies quite a bit. So there may be other factors also at play. So there is something about MCTs. I will make a video. Somebody actually asked me I just noticed it this morning, on the milk thing that I did with Bart. And somebody actually asked there about, because I actually made a comment that I'm not a very supportive person of MCTs.
Mm-hmm.
Now I didn't want to actually go into the details because it's one of my list of things to do, but it does basically, MCTs in high amounts are in rats and stuff like that have been shown to cause things like asthma-like effects, bronchitis-like effects, and other allergies and stuff like that. So if you look at actual most of the actual stuff, like in whether it's in coconuts, it's not 100%. It's it's a smaller percentage. If you look at MCTs in dairy, it's about anywhere between 8 or 9% to about 12-ish, depending. So it's a very small amount again, sometimes even less than that, mostly. That we're talking about the very high limits that they've actually measured. And in most other animal foods, medium chain triglycerides are much lower. Children get more in the actual, especially in mother's milk. And the reason for that is basically because it's a very good energy source. In terms of ketones, kids can go in and out of ketosis very quickly. And so that's the reason why it's there as available. But in large amounts over prolonged periods of time, unless you have some level of adaptation, I wouldn't recommend it. And a lot of people talk about, well, we need to get MCTs into the brain. And I'm going, well, I've actually shown with that other study that you can get a lot of fats in the brain as well. So you don't need MCTs. So you can still get fatty acids into the brain at a much higher rate than most people thought, more than 20%. And that was on that other one that I did with Bart, showing that Russian study, and also talking about sort of the Cahill studies back in the 60s and that were done and 70s in these regards. So no, I sort of don't think that most people need a lot of MCT. And good for things for your brain. I mean, taurine is very important for your brain. So if you're basically eating fats, you're eating certain proteins, especially like taurine. It's very protective of the brain as well. So there's a lot of other things that people should consider before they start hitting the MCTs, because even the lady that actually had her husband that had Alzheimer's, she was a doctor from Miami, I believe. I forget her name now. And even she basically was able to reverse it to some extent with MCTs, but not completely. So he still passed away a few years later. So it is not the miracle cure, and it's not a panacea. And I ultimately think that that there can be negative side effects in high quantities of MCT, because you need the long chain fats. Your body needs the long chain fats. They play a lot of important roles in the body, both as structural material, not only as energy, but structural material for all sorts of hormonal requirements and all that. MCTs do not play that role. You know, and if you have too many MCTs, all you're going to do is, and you've hit your excess level, all you're going to do is basically down regulate to some extent, if you're in a ketotic state, your level of your endogenous production of ketones, because the body will it usually prioritizes about, around about the 18% at maximum. And Bart's talked about it before. So artificially trying to push ketones to really very high levels doesn't really work for people. You don't see any positive health outcomes. So I'm not a big fan of MCT, especially when there is good evidence to show in mammals that you can get higher levels of allergies and all these other issues associated with it.
In high doses.
Yeah, it is in high doses, but this is what people are talking about. I'm not, when it comes to something like from coconut or from dairy, the MCTs, that's not an issue. I'm not making that sort of claim, but the person was actually asking about, because I criticize the MCTs. It's more about these people that sort of load up on MCTs.
Right.
And consider MCT. They'll get whatever they get from dairy, then they'll get an MCT supplement, and all this. They'll just really load up, and that was my criticism that and it's like, you still need monounsaturated fat, you still need saturated fat, you still need some PUFA. Get it in the quantities that come naturally in tallow, lard, and those sort of foods, because it's going to be much healthier for your body. These sort of supplemental types and stuff like that are problematic, and even the Navy SEALs for the D'Agostino makes those ketone salts for them, because they don't want to be on a keto diet or a low carb diet. They're just on a standard diet, and they are given this supplement when they're involved in doing frogman work, so they can have that additional energy in there. So it's a short-term supplement. It's not a long-term supplement. It's a short-term supplement just to provide sufficient energy to prevent those sort of epileptic type effects that diving to those depths can have, and because they use a different type rebreather, which doesn't actually, you don't get any bubbles coming out of it, because you have to be stealthy as a SEAL, Navy SEAL, as a frogman. So that can create problems like an epileptic type effects under certain circumstances, especially when they change more rapidly between different depths. And this is where the MCTs these ketone esters came in for that purpose. But it's for a short-term thing. It's not basically basically guzzling all that sort of stuff down your throat continuously. Right. And I know some people somebody actually years ago actually, I'm trying to remember the person. I can't remember anyway, but they actually bought like pure MCT from a health food place, and they actually consumed quite a bit of that in the bottle, and it just gave them the runs, because
it'll just go right through you.
It'll go right through you, and they ended up with it sort of like a fat diarrhea sort of thing. It was really funny in that regard. But and it's well known. It's well known. High amounts of MCT will cause diarrhea. It's well known out there.
I think that's true for any large amount, like consuming any large amount of fat when you're not adapted to it as well.
Oh, that's true as well. Yeah, especially when you've got things like issues with your gallbladder, liver, those sort of things. Yes, it can. You can get diarrhea effects as well from that when it's not functioning properly and stuff like that. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, taurine is an important amino for good functioning. Like, I mean, I've been promoting milk thistle for ages in terms of good liver function, I mean, I've taken it myself in the past when I had gallstone issues, and a number of these sort of things that can break down gallstones and stuff like that. I probably should make some sort of vid at some stage. It's on my list of things to do. But yeah, in that regard, that was the salicylate one. That was the bifum harut. Now let me just move down. Castor oil, yeah. My mother gave me that years ago when I was young, I remember. Yes, my older sister had hers ripped out as well. She did a sort of a semi-vegetarian type diet for years and years and years. High carb diets, and yes, so she paid for that as well.
People are just talking about MCT going right through them. So I'm just saying, if you want to mix that with some magnesium salt, and it'll really go right through you.
Supercharge it, mate. Supercharge it.
But no, I have heard of people just drinking MCT directly to alleviate constipation. For that reason.
So yes, it will definitely
purposely taking advantage of the fact that it will just kind of lubricate everything and go straight through you without digesting if you have too much.
Yeah, I can't remember who. There was somebody actually online that actually was promoting that as a laxative, as the best, a really good laxative. Get MCT.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the worst thing to try, I guess.
No,
if you're...
God no. Yeah, I think if you've got constipation from too much fiber, it's a good solution. Maybe all vegans should be using MCT oils.
Oh, sorry, my connection's just sort of popping in and out there.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess with regard to the Epsom salt, though, that's I'm being facetious. Don't actually do that. Or if you're going to do that, drink it on the toilet because it'll hit you fast.
You'll have an explosive experience.
Yes, magnesium salt is a very well-known laxative for that reason.
Yes, I suspect that provides explosive experiences as well.
Lactulose?
Have you heard of that? I haven't.
No. Let's look it up.
I'll leave you to do that. Sorry.
This drug is used by mouth or rectally to treat or prevent complications of liver disease.
Okay. So what is it supposed to do? Does it affect the enzymes?
Broken down in the large intestine into mild acids that draw water into the colon, which helps soften the stool.
Ah, okay. So it's a laxative type. It has a laxative type effect.
Yeah.
Yep. Just take a bit more magnesium. That'll do it.
Yeah, that's what Epsom salt is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. Or and sometimes even with just taking a bit more fat in the diet will also help, lubricate the colon as well. So
yeah, that makes sense as an approach to me. Just sort of mechanically move things along.
Yeah, look, if I always say hardened stools or soft, when you have a soft stool, it's usually because you've had a bit more fat in it. If people are eating let's say, okay, there are circumstances where you can't buy, you go to a supermarket and you look at all the meat aisles and there's only they've cut all the fat off. They've trimmed literally everything off. You've got no other option. Well, add a bit of butter to it. And that will basically give you that sort of balance between the protein and all that, and actually end up, while we're talking about poos now, end up with better poos anyway.
Always
Let's move on.
At least once every string. My poops are kind of firm lately. We can move on from that too.
Kitty, kitty, kitty. Bad kitty. Did you hear? Even Butter agreed with me.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry to anybody who's annoyed by that in the background. She's yowling away. I can mute myself, but I'm lazy.
Since it's the first day of summer here in Canada, definitely been getting a lot more sun. Wondering if any nutrients should be increased, decreased due to high vitamin D. At this early stage, you're not going to get a lot of vitamin D in Canada, I suspect.
No, I think it's at this point of the year. I think you're getting there's some good UV.
Is it getting stronger? Is the UV?
Yeah,
getting
it's
stronger?
strong. It's strong.
Okay.
Yeah, you can definitely get a sunburn.
Fair enough.
The sun's strong enough to give you a burn from like late April, early May.
If you're getting enough, the nice thing about getting it from the sun is it's not a supplement, and the body stores it. It doesn't release it all in the bloodstream like a supplement would. So that only becomes an issue if you're supplementing. That's when you need to up your MK4 and retinol. Yeah. Only then. But if you're not supplementing,
and maybe copper too, right?
Well, not really. No? You know, that's more with the iron metabolism and stuff like that, where copper plays a bigger role. But you know, it's more has to do with the fat soluble vitamins being a bit more balanced, especially when you're supplementing. It's the supplementing side really, rather than, and it's because if you can get more vitamin D, it tends to sort of drive down the vitamin A or the retinol, and vice versa. And usually that actually exacerbates more due to lack of MK4 or vitamin K2. So when you've got vitamin K2 there as well, you actually get that better balance. And also it plays a very important role for some of the, both not only the collagen degrading enzymes, but also some of the actual osteocalcin type, the bone mineralizing and bone remodeling type enzymes, which are also they are created, so transcripted due to vitamin D and vitamin A, but then need to be activated fully with as a cofactor to those enzymes from MK4. And you can't use MK7 because some people, a third of the population, can't even convert it. So it definitely has to be whether you get the MK4 from brie, gouda, liver, eggs, or supplement. That's up to you, your preferences in that regard. But it's one reason why I consume more brie.
I like brie.
Yeah, I love it. It's just so nice and creamy.
Well, good brie is, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I'm getting Ile-de-France brand brie.
Yeah, that's what I get. I get French brie. So sometimes I can get, like I had raw French brie, but sometimes I can't. Sometimes I just have to go for the stuff where they basically, what is it called? It's so one down at Woolworths. So I can't actually get the one sometimes at the IGA store, and the Woolworths one is pasteurized, and they put back the animal rennet is in there. The enzymes they put back, and they put back the sort of the bacterial strains that actually I'm trying to remember. Mind block. There are specific bacterial strains that produce the MK4 type of but I just cannot remember for the life of me. No, it's not coming to me. No, sorry. But I'm usually a bit sharper. But anyway, didn't get enough sleep last night. Staying up too late. I'm a bad boy.
Speaking of staying up too late, I should get going soonish. So I'll give a 5 or 10 minute warning if anyone has any pressing questions for me.
Any Canadian related stuff? Language related stuff? You want something translated, a document, or no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, definitely come to me for all of your French translation needs, because they're a very forgiving language with translated words. They're not forgiving at all.
Yeah, look, I wasn't, it's Jared that's responsible for basically bringing things down into disrepute and basically, forcing me to talk about poo. T1.
Look, we turn to poo when we run out of other options.
Oh, sorry, kitty. Oh, yeah, but your answers are runny. They need to be a bit more solid.
Necro, it's shitty of you to ask those things because it'll work itself out on its own.
That's one for you, mate.
Yeah, no, I understand he's just joking, but we have a very strong UV right now. The UV index was 9 here today.
Okay, so that was pretty high. Yeah. Well, you're not gonna be struggling to get enough vitamin D from the sun.
Yeah, especially at this time of year too, where solar noon lasts a lot, like peak UV lasts a little bit longer on the solstice. Yeah, it's been the same weather here, Harut.
Yeah, 33.
Yep.
So, and that's pretty early in the season as well, isn't it, for you guys?
Yeah, it'll be like summer's in full swing until the end of August for sure.
I've actually noticed that even recently I was actually looking at some additional studies, and the magnetosphere is actually weakened again. So, remember I've been talking about the magnetosphere and more UV coming through the atmosphere due to the magnetosphere becoming weaker.
Yep.
And that's the 800 to 1,000 year type reversal of the magnetic poles.
Yep.
And recently, again, the new measurements that came out, the magnetosphere has become weaker again.
Yep.
So that means less protection out there with UV, plus more energies coming in and heading up the planet. The models don't ignore this completely. And I've been saying this for some time, that the models are completely, they're deficient because they don't take into consideration water vapor and all these other things.
Oh, for the climate change models, yeah.
Yeah. The water vapor and the clouds are being affected by this higher level of solar radiation coming through because of the weaker magnetosphere, and nobody's measuring it. You've got geophysicists that are actually measuring it, but the climate stuff, people are completely ignoring it as if it's a non-issue.
There's a YouTube channel I'd be interested to know your take on, Harry, called Suspicious Observers, except it's with a 0 instead of an O for observers.
Okay. So, send it to me, or put it in the private thing.
Yeah, he just reports on solar activity, basically, and specifically like solar weather and its effect on Earth's weather. And he made a couple of feature-length documentaries about these things and how it's been known that the sun influences Earth's climate far more than any kind of activity on the planet.
Precisely.
And he talks a little bit about exactly what you're saying, that the climate models that all of the climate research is based on, there's this one foundational model that they don't all create a new model every time they want to examine a certain element of what's going on and how things interact. Exactly. They all go default to this one accepted model, and it's fundamentally flawed. So every piece of climate science that they're putting out there is fundamentally flawed.
It's because all of it is basically on ground observation, and ground observation is highly confounded. Because first of all, the ground stations, some of them have been moved to lower elevations, or from rural areas into townships, or close to whether it's a fire station or a police station or some other government sort of building. And so it's going to be a hell of a lot warmer because of the heat island effect compared to a rural area which is much cooler. So you've got that. That's one factor. Then you've basically got the other factors which are out there that are some of the stations, the times that they were measured by different people. So there could be measurement issues. then you've basically got the other issue that around certain rural areas, the topography has sort of changed quite a bit, or it's been moved to a different location on that property. So there are so many. And then the other big one is that you don't have a lot of stations in a number of countries. They're more concentrated in the US, Canada, Australasia, parts of Europe, parts of the European part of what used to be the old Soviet Union, that part, but not into Siberia and areas like that, which are much harder to put stuff and maintain stuff in those areas. So you've got a whole lot of different parts of the planet that are not being monitored in the same way. And then they are making these sort of adjustments. And they say, well, we have some temperature readings of some of these regions. And then they do this sort of it's not real data, raw data. It's basically adjusted data. And there are biases there. There's all sorts of issues. So that's why you can't really rely on it. And it's a number of reasons why there are other people out there that are starting to look at this, like some of the skeptics that are saying, well, hold on. When we take certain readings, we get certain different readings in this region or that region. As I've said to people, how much humans are affecting or not, none of us can be certain, because we don't have any of the science. We don't have good, credible science. So we need to first accept, let me just stop there. We don't really have credible science about what exactly is happening. And we're ignoring all these other areas. We're ignoring basically the weather balloon stuff and the contradictions between the weather balloon stuff, which is what the Conleys have been talking about in Ireland. And then and even they are not talking about the magnetosphere, which I've been talking about a bit as well. So there are all these other factors and other gases that are not measured properly. Other sort of they are basically estimated. That's all they are, estimated. And some people are saying that the estimations are actually wrong because they're based on incorrect sort of measurements, or there are insufficient global measurements because there is only like skewed data from certain parts. And because of the curvature and the rotation position, because that difference, the hydrodynamics of like fluids and sort of air pockets can vary between different parts of the globe, and we're not really measuring all those aspects properly. So those those air dynamics are not being properly, because they are different because of the curvature of the Earth, solar radiation, all these interactions, complex. It's just so complicated, and these people are trying to make it out that it's simple. We need better science, and we need better equipment to measure these things more precisely. And we need possibly some quantum computers to be able to crunch the numbers, because there are so much numbers no human in their lifetime or even current computer systems could do it. That's why they exclude so much information. They just guess and estimate those things. But they don't, over time, it's like basically saying, well, your cholesterol's this, and that's what it's going to be all day or every day for the next year. That's not the case. It varies. There is so much variability in any system that if you just take one measurement here and one measurement there and not a whole lot of other measurements in between, you can actually end up with a very absurd average. We know this from statistics. When you've got very little data, you end up getting these pronounced statistical differences. When you put a lot in, you end up with more people. Usually the curve flattens far more in terms of, you get more noise. So there's too much. I'm not saying that we're not contributing, but I've got no proof either way. These people are claiming, but they've got no real proof. It's just basically a lot of guesswork. And we shouldn't basically be upending our whole society on guesswork.
No, this is what I'm about to say is true for any problem, but when a problem is sufficiently complex that you don't understand it, you need to acknowledge that you don't comprehend the complexity of the problem, right? And for that reason, when you act to solve the problem, you need to be very careful that you don't make it worse.
Precisely. And that's why...
And it's very likely that you will make it worse if you don't understand the complexity of the problem you're talking about. And I think it's safe to say that we don't understand the complexity of climate change.
And we've got nutcases out there that are actually talking about literally doing climate, what is it called? Geoengineering.
Yeah.
And that is dangerous stuff, especially when you do sort of the type of engineering that it can actually have an effect. Where's he gone? I'll put Lucas's oops.
Sorry about that. I accidentally closed the window. I tried to go to Lucas. I tried to go to that link.
and you lost it. Yeah. Yes. Cockwomble Co. Beyond Fiber, meat-based fiber, no soy, no gluten. Breaking news: bald New Zealand senior scientist launches fiber-based on animal collagen to substitute plants. Someone help! I'm trapped making memes. Meat good.
Cockwomble Co. Beyond Fiber. I like it.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it, mate. Yeah, Cockwomble.
Turns that stuff around quick.
That's a good one. Cockwomble. Thanks, Luca. You're spot on, mate.
I like the picture of an X-ray, the X-ray of the joint there, instead of like a vegan sign.
Yeah, that's it.
Connective tissue.
Oh, he's outdone himself. Too much laughter. I'm.
All right. I think on that note, I should call it a night for me.
Mate, thanks for joining the live stream. Appreciate it, mate. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here.
Have a good night, everybody. And I'll see you next week, Harry.
Don't forget to basically say goodbye to my trolls.
Goodbye, trolls. Goodbye is very final. Does that mean that they're going to be gone next week?
No. God, no. Oh, God. I live. Without these trolls, life would be, I wouldn't want to live in a world where T1 and T2 didn't exist.
Right. Okay. Well, have a good night, everybody, and have a good week. And see you next week.
See you, mate.
See ya.
Well, Grandpa's gone. We can start saying rude things again. Exactly. I'd miss you. The world would be a lonely place. What else have we got? See, I didn't forget you. I'm Kitty. I took the Sky Warn class. One of the biggest problems is they're predicting stuff, but don't have people reporting back that actually happens. Yes. There is a number to call and report your weather to help science. Fantastic. So we can all call and give them our N of 1. I suspect the climate science we're talking about now. In Texas, the summer lasts until you just before or just after Christmas. That's not bad. Damn warm down there. Yep, he's multitasking. Yep, but we're not taking into consideration. Yes, it is, but at the same time, solar radiation, we're not taking into consideration these other effects like the weakening of the magnetosphere. So even though you may have less activity, you'll get more UV coming through. Obviously, if we go to a maximum later on, you'll get these dramatic increases. You know what they'll be saying? Oh, we told you so, we told you so, we told you so. You know, look what's happening. You know, ignoring that the amount of CO2 by humans is probably just very minor, you know, a few percentage points increase by that stage, or may even be a decline. They will tell you that they'll ignore completely the effects of the sun. And that's the problem. If we're going to make good policy, we need to know exactly what's happening. That's what science is supposed to do, is to provide good risk assessments, proper risk assessments, and say, well, you know, this is how much we know. There may be a small percentage of risk. You know, we can do a few minor things just to potentially mitigate it. But when you basically start exacerbating it. Now, the other thing is with bushfires, the reason for bad bushfires is simple. We don't burn enough. Traditionally, like in Australia, Aborigines used to, in certain parts of the year, they used to basically burn things off. So they burned the undergrowth, and primarily they did it basically for hunting purposes. It's like the North American Plains Indians did the same thing, you know, literally burnt those grasslands down and those forest areas in order to reduce the actual undergrowth. And I look at basically images of certain regions in Australia that are very dry regions that have got a lot of vegetation now. And then I look at old colonial images, paintings of those same areas, and it's just grassland. So what happened? Well, we basically took the indigenous population and herded them into these sort of townships and into basically these settlements and these sort of religious sort of settlements to basically indoctrinate them into the Western ways. And as a consequence, there's nobody out there doing those traditional things anymore. So all those trees have come back. It's another reason why now we've got an endemic problem of kangaroos all over the place. You know, there's nobody hunting them. And on top of that, the grasslands are basically being reduced due to nobody burning down those trees or getting rid of them, so to create grasslands. And so what you've got as the consequence of that is that you get in dry sort of environments where there shouldn't be as much tree vegetation, far worse. And because you're not actually doing burn-offs, I've actually seen Aborigines, literally the old guys that know their shit, literally starting a fire and telling you it will do this loop around this area, and the fucking thing does a loop. That is how much cultural knowledge these people had on how to manage this this continent. And we ignore that knowledge, and we wonder why we get these really massive, strange bushfires and all these other problems. You know, we create them because we mismanage. We've got a whole lot of fucking stupid academics that think they know more about people that have basically been managing the land for thousands and thousands of years. That somebody, just because they've got a PhD against their name, that they know better, when they've probably never even been out there to really do any research. They've been just doing it from looking at somebody else's research and then making, you know, meta-analysis and other comments and stuff like that, so they can just maintain academic tenure. More just garbage in, garbage out sort of stuff. Bloody hell it is, mate. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. You know, I can see you're one of those proponents. You should go and see my video that I did with Bart on methane. That actually shows that basically C12 carbon is going down and C13 is going up, which basically means that methane from animals is going down, Methane from shale oil is going up. That's all it is. But people just ignore that because it doesn't actually subscribe to the vegan agenda. Yes, those bad cows. Yeah, exactly. No, for some reason. Oh, the veg tarts say it's not a good thing. Let basically the undergrowth grow and grow and grow. And so we can have really horrendous and very dangerous bushfires. That's what we get. Yeah, pretty much. Well, if you need to go, mate, it's nice having you. Take care. And maybe next week we may get you on the live stream, hopefully. We'll see. Not the Muppets. See you, mate. Yeah, it was good to see him. You know, the more he exposed himself to that. You know, I look at my earlier videos that chats that I did with Bart, and fucking hell, I was tense. I can tell you, I was really, sort of tense, and I was, yeah. It's when you first time doing it, and even at my age, I'm a confident. I've done public speaking in the past and all that, but it's because you're saying, well, am I doing it right? Am I doing? Nowadays I just fuck that. I'm very easygoing. So as you guys know, maybe too easygoing sometimes. In Brazil, yeah, they probably need to. There's export dollars in it. There's plenty. The veg tart movement is growing, and there's plenty of money to be made. I would not begrudge a carnivore if they invested in that shit, because there's pretty good money. There's going to be a bit of growth in the next couple of years. So, I'm not going to tell you that I'm investing in it, but, yeah, there's money to be had. If you're an investor, yeah, I don't think it's going to last. I think it's probably got a decade. And then after that, all the sort of effects of a plant-based, all the health issues getting worse and all that people are going to go, oh, they won't blame the plants. They'll say, oh, it's, it's these other things in it and all that. They'll make some other BS and stuff like that, and they'll try to double down again for another decade. It's what they do. They blame, misdirects, blame something else rather than the real stuff that's really causing things like that. In Australia, no, not enough. It's the kangaroos that basically the problem is when you get too much undergrowth, the actual forest becomes very packed. It's very hard for larger animals to move through it, traverse it. Small animals or tree-based animals, not an issue, but large animals like kangaroos and things like that can't really move through, that sort of terrain. And so what they do is they end up in the suburbs. So you've got all these kangaroos out of these sort of forested areas, literally ending up in areas which are semi sort of, grass, because people are growing grass in their backyards or whatever. And you basically get kangaroos in the suburbs, in the outer suburbs of the city. Why? Because that's the sort of environment they want. They want grass, to be able to eat grass. Problem is, because councils are also putting insecticides and poisons and all that, that is having a deleterious effect on kangaroo health as well. So, these veg tards, they say that they care about animals, but these policies that they put where they prevent burning and cleaning of undergrowth and cutting down some of these forests to create more grasslands, or to build more grasslands to give relief to these animals, they don't give a shit. Not at all. Yes. No, we don't have goats. Goats, Greece. Think Greece, Mediterranean. You know. Yeah, grab the goat. Grab the goat. Grab the goat. Well, we won't go into that. The extracurricular activities. Yeah, they're all feral. You wouldn't want to get involved with one of those goats, believe me. Yes, we do have feral goats, feral camels, and every other feral European animal under the sun that were brought here. So, yeah. I lived in Arnhem Land, North Australia for many years. There was an annual backburning. Yep, exactly. Yeah. I think in some areas in Arnhem Land, the indigenous people there still practice some of that to this day, which is good, you know. But unfortunately, you have people out there being very critical about backburning. But when it's the indigenous, because they don't want to politically be, you know, seen as racist, these vegtards, they usually back off, which is so fucking hypocritical. Absolutely hypocritical. They're assholes. But yeah, look, I've seen stuff in Arnhem Land as well, and I know people with an Aboriginal background, and they think these idiots are a bunch of fucking idiots, you know. But yeah, unfortunately, yes, my dear T1. Yeah, it used to be basically, well, not exactly ritualistic torture. Not that sort of backburning, mate. Not we are plugging the wrong hole, aren't we, Richard? Mate. Yes. Yes, we're talking about these sort of the other sort of burning. You mean dirty kibble money? Yes, it definitely is. Bart's back. Hello, major bigot from minor bigot here. Hey, there's nothing. You can get a lot of excitement out of a goat, believe me. So Daniel's, my vegan co-worker's never had any energy and looked like he's dying. Yeah. They're pretty much like that. I mean, my sister up at this is one of the Bunnings stores in Tasmania. She actually had a vegetarian and a vegan, and they were just next to useless. Had no energy whatsoever to be able to do any really strong manual work. She said, "Why did I get lumped with these people?" You know, so yeah, because she was one of the supervisors, and they lumped her with people that just literally couldn't pull those sort of trolleys, those sort of baskets. You know, so yeah, I know the feeling. They're pretty much, you got to eat animal products. So Christine lives in Cologne. City has herds of grazing sheep. So that looks like a sheep. The valley, no commercial lawnmower. Exactly, no need. You know, with plenty of ruminants around, they do keep the stuff down. But in some areas, you do get certain types of vegetation and stuff like that where you need to do, especially in Australia and places like that. North America plains, you know, the plains in used to burn those. It's the reason why the worst bushfires happen in Australia and in the US, in North America. Look at anywhere else in the world, you don't get those extreme type bushfires really hot. It's because those soils are much drier. They have been, they are a different type of soil. They're more suited to types of grazing land, because that's how they were modified by humans thousands of years ago. And when you introduce basically a lot of trees back and into that sort of environment, you make it a very dangerous environment in terms of fire hazard. So, mate, we're easy on this side. Don't worry yourself. I can take it a notch further down sometimes myself. Yes. I mean, what's happening? T1 had to take it to that next level, Richard. T1 could not help himself at all. Yeah, no, look, Uncle Bart's more into sheep. Goats. Me goats, him sheep. But he'll claim that he's half Australian, so it doesn't really count. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where all the actual hippies and greenies and all these alternatives live. I've been involved in environmental movements. I used to actually work for the Environment Centre in Hobart. Okay, and I was a state secretary of the Australian Peace Committee back in my youth. So I've been part of that movement for most of my life. But I've seen that movement go from really having a cleaner environment for humans, better air quality, better water quality, things like that, a better managed environment, to going into this sort of crackpottery that has nothing to do. And I know a number of people that come from sort of an environmental background like myself that have basically moved away from this modern movement because we realize how unscientific it is and how crackpot it is, and it's driven by agendas of vegan agendas and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with science. And these people have no understanding how to manage land when it comes to land management. And fire is an important element in land management in certain parts of the world. And if you don't employ it, you basically end up with catastrophic fires like in California or parts of Australia. So, yeah, it's... Yes. So unfortunately, these modern ideologues are basically creating a lot of these issues in our world today, because they've moved away from those traditions of making the environment better for humans and the animals, to basically be functional like we traditionally did. And now we're basically, it's all this sort of strange things that, like, leave it there. An environment is an evolving thing. All nature is in constant flux and in entropy. It's things decay, things change, and it's constant flux and change. That is what is normal. These people would like to basically stick the environment in a museum. That would be their perfect type of environmental protection. Stick it in a museum, never touch it type approach. How basically crazy can you be? And that is a modern day snowflake agenda from the suburbs of cities who have no idea about the environment, have no idea. I mean, I know one guy who used to go hunting and do all this sort of stuff and all that, and he was down at the protests, trying to stop the actual creating the big hydroelectric plant in Tasmania, the Gordon below Franklin. But so these people have got a completely different nowadays compared to those people. I'm saying the people that were in my time, the way we thought about the environment, the way we thought about peace, the nuclear bombs and stuff like that, and the way people think today is completely, at odds with reality. It's not driven by science, not driven by good public policy, but it's driven by agendas that have nothing to do. It's sort of ideology and nothing to do with good sort of land management and stuff like that. Because in the past, people recognise you needed to basically burn off and stuff like that. But nowadays, God, it's a dirty word. You try doing that now. Yes, how dare you? Exactly, Bart. How dare I? Yeah, look, they've destroyed a number of businesses and industries down in Tasmania as well. That's true, and all that. And in the end of the day, because in the past, some of these, I'll give you an example. In the northwest of Tasmania, there was areas there that had never, that in the past, because they had specialty type woods, people used to go in there and cut those trees down, like the big ones. Leave the smaller ones, leave the medium size, leave a number of the big ones as well. But they used to also clear up the vegetation, the undergrowth. We never had fires in that region at all. Then basically all that area became protected. You couldn't actually touch it. You couldn't go in there. You couldn't manage it anymore. The department doesn't have enough people to basically manage all these sort of. So it just left overgrowth and all that started growing. You couldn't touch it and all that. And then we had some of the worst fires. And so vegetation there that had been there for thousands and thousands of years got wiped out in one instance. That tells you everything. The only stuff that didn't actually get was all the actual hydro facilities and all that, and that's because one of the guys who they use data analytics, using our data, our mapping data, and data analytics and sort of the topographical and the flow of air currents over that area, and so they were able to create fire breaks in specific things. Not one of the facilities got burnt. The fire just went around as it should have gone, as the model that was designed from our mapping stuff predicted that it would work. So we can do a number of things. We're not we've got some good science and good methods and all that. When they're employed properly, we get good results. But those fires didn't need to happen. If we had sustainable timber harvesting of those type of rare type of timbers, we wouldn't have had this undergrowth. We wouldn't have had this, too many trees sort of growing in the same area and creating this really thick type of conditions where it much easier can become a powder cake. And that's what happens. And more intense. It's got so much fuel, that environment, it becomes so intense, it just takes everything out. So at the end, we all lost. We actually end up worse off. I don't know if Bart's there. I forgot about, I'll have to show him this one of Lucas. Hey, Bart. I hope you're still there. There's your new ad, mate. It's hit the night news. Breaking news. Is that a legitimate registered company? Cockwomble Corporation? Just asking, mate. Just asking. He's probably gone. Dropped in. I'll send it. I'll have to send it to him. Yes. See you, Christina. Yep, you're welcome. I bet he has. Do you keep tabs on him, T2? Okay, so he's probably seen it. Good. Look, it's Luke's mem is in the Discord. Okay, good. Not a problem. Any other questions, guys? Any sort of we've covered all the root stuff. Anything specific that people really want to have answered? We've got about 20 odd minutes until we're up to 3 hours. And then we'll pull the plug because I've got another one tonight, which is the Eurasian one. And that's about 5 hours away. So in 5 hours from now, I will have the other one happening. Yeah. Look, yep, Daniel. Taurine is really, look, at the age of, from 40 onwards, your taurine declines, your synthesis of taurine. After 65, it really just drops like a stone. So you need to get it more from the diet. It's an amino transporter, so it's really good to protect you against sarcopenia and bone loss and muscle loss as you age. So it's really important. That's one. Then it's also important in the synthesis of bile in the liver as well. It supports the detoxification pathways. It's very important for brain functioning, in particular the hippocampus as well. So it has a lot of functions around the place, as an amino acid. It's one of those important ones. Can support a number of pathways, both anti-inflammatory ones as well. So it's an important element that we need to basically support ourselves in a number of ways. So if you're over 40, you should be trying to get more animal foods into your diet. Over 65, I've supplemented a bit earlier, but over 65, I would basically definitely supplement with taurine. I already supplement deliberately. And I've got Dad on the supplement as well. He's 85, and we reversed completely sarcopenia and all that. And his mental faculties have also improved. So a lot of things can be helped along that way. Plus, I've had to it's been a hard struggle with Dad as well to get more, because he's probably got the same MTHFR issue that I've got, and consumed too much veggies for too long, which would have given him more folate bleeding through his B12. And so, he started having lower levels. We detected it early enough, luckily, and we've sort of remedied that with more animal foods and stuff like that, and also corrected that issue, that MTHFR issue that we both have, which is the riboflavin. Increase the riboflavin, fix the whole problem. So because I can't monitor his diet, I gave him a supplement. I said, just take the supplement, Dad, of B2, of riboflavin. Simple. Sometimes with older people or relatives or people like that, you just have to give them the stuff, because otherwise they, you can't be sure that they will get it in their diet, because it's, what's the difference between animals and non-animal rennet? Well, one's made from a plant-based source. There are actually different plant type sources that they use, but it's not something that you want, because usually in most of those plant-based ones where they put they actually put a whole lot of other fillers as well. So the least processed stuff is the better. That's why I stick to a lot of the European cheeses, personally, to be honest. A lot of the Australian cheeses have been bastardized like they did in the US years ago. All the rubbery shit, they take all the fat out and this and that, and it's devoid of nutrition. Oh, but yeah, sludge, that's it. Yeah, plant-based sludge. Oh, the animal, yeah. Well, but the plant-based stuff is also coming from plant-based sludge. That's all it is, so, and who knows whatever else they've got in there. So you definitely don't want it. Thoughts on healing teeth? The more animal-based your diet is, the better. I've noticed my jaw is stronger now and my teeth are stronger by actually munching on soft, like bones, like the dogs do, and like chicken bones. I actually munch on them. I actually get all the hyaluronic acid, which is a lot of the collagen type 2, because from the other stuff you get enough bone 1 type and 3 type, but the type 2 is much higher in chicken, and so I usually munch through all those bones. And I've noticed that I've been doing it now for some time, for the last probably 2 years, and my jaw is stronger. The compression of my jaw is stronger, and my teeth are stronger because I've basically, made them stronger by, it's like exercising muscles. I think it's a similar thing. That's all I can put it down to. It's probably another reason where if you're eating all this soft sludge that vegans eat, it's probably another thing that softens their jaw and softens their muscle. At the end of the day, these things get remodeled. All our tissue gets remodeled continuously. And so if you're not using certain parts, they probably atrophy to some extent. So I would say better bones, better jaw, all that sort of stuff comes from more carnivory. In terms of calcification and stuff like that, you still need MK4 for better bones and better teeth and all that. So you still need those fat soluble vitamins. They are the things that actually make bones and teeth much better. In terms of if you've really got severe damaged chips and enamel damage and stuff like that, sometimes that can be very hard to come back. Then I usually recommend the following. If you've got enamel damage, which means it exposes to more acidity or other things your teeth, then I would look at actually purchasing an oral microbiome type thing. So you can actually get this oral microbiome thing where you can actually, a bit like, the sort of supplements that they have for your gut. It's a similar thing for your mouth, for your mouth oral microbiome, and you can actually repopulate it with a sort of type of bacteria that tends to alkalinize sort of the mouth. But then again, you can also promote those bacteria without buying that by just basically using salt water. So gargling salt water in your mouth and all that and stuff like that. That's what I do. So that is probably a cheaper option and a more traditional option that people used. So hope that helped. I'm not sure about that, what I mentioned. What's Bart doing? I'm not listening anymore. I'm over at the Discord. Okay, mate. Is it that exciting? Depends when the Necro Kitty's there. She can really excite things. She's a Texan girl. Yeah, look, mate. Don't come near me. You'll be feathers. Ah, yes, yes. Nothing like I like eating cartilage. It's the beyond fiber. Well, I mean, you could mention it to Bart. He's into the beyond products. He really loves the beyond products, the beyond fiber products. So, yep, yeah, that as well. Yeah, I love pork rinds and pork skin and stuff like that. The sort of crackling that you get when you actually cook. Because we also one Christmas we actually had a little piglet which we cooked on a skewered and cooked, and then I butchered after, because obviously I'm the only person in the family that knows how to butcher an animal properly. So I get all those wonderful tasks, never relaxing, yes, on those special occasions. But it was still enjoyable, really nice. I mean, absolutely beautiful. Enjoyed that. Actually, I do have an image somewhere. Next time I'll actually have it, and I'll actually show you the pig's head. Something I took away. Somebody had to. And then my sister got slightly upset, and I said, okay, I'll leave it here. So, because my brother-in-law was there as well, and they sort of wanted it. So they pinched it back off me. Anyway, shit happens. That's family for you. They're likely to rob you in broad daylight with a smile. It's it. Yep, feathers. Still hanging around, I can see, mate. Oh, crap. Caught and have to explain myself. Yep. We're down to the last 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Oops. Mate, I have to say that I do love roast. Yeah. Actually, that's what I'm missing. Actually, I've got some pork steaks in there that I was going to cook later. But yeah, I'll probably need to go and get a nice pork roast. I haven't had one for ages now. Usually, so my sister used to really cook. My younger sister, really nice. She's in WA now. Damn. So I do miss her cooking. She used to actually make pork crackling for us, just trays and trays of it. I could sit there half the night with a whole bowl full of pork crackling and just, oh God, she spoilt me far too much. we try to please. Yes, nothing like it. Yeah, I have to say, goat is really good on a spit as well. Yeah, I haven't done that for ages. Actually, the last time was, can't even remember the year now. My father actually cooked it for us, but it was it was probably 12 years ago. It's been a while. Damn, it's been a while. I mean, the only things that we've roasted is big like ducks. We haven't done a turkey yet. Piglet. We've done lamb a couple of times. That's typical. Yeah. I don't know why we haven't done a goat. It's been a while. Anyway, shit happens. Yes, nothing like it. Yes, I will. Look, I will. It's just basically I've been just so damn busy with a lot of different things, including family things. So that's the only reason. But I will come back. I have come and made a few comments in the past, but it's been a while. That's true. I will try to get back there. Oh, that's nice. 23 today in Perth. Damn, I can tell you, it's been raining outside all day today. It's fucking cold as well, especially this morning. But actually, what was it? No, it wasn't too bad this morning. 2 days ago, early in the morning, when I actually went out to put some stuff in the rubbish bin, and I nearly froze my nuts off. You know, it was 6 o'clock in the morning, but fuck, that was cold. So yeah, we're in the wintry months in Hobart, unfortunately, at this stage. And I can't even go to Southeast Asia. I can't even get away. You know, borders are damn fucking closed. Ugh. Yes. The modern problems and, stresses of a Westerner. I can't go on holidays. So damn stressful. Okay. Nice. So for Kitty, it's pretty close. Not too far. Two an hour drive or two. Yep, depending on the traffic, I suspect. That is not making me happy. I'm jealous. I hate you, T1. Why does T1 get all the good weather? Yeah, look, it's good if if you've got storage. I've got a bit of a freezer, but mine's sort of a split. My half my fridge, so it's got a big lower freezer part. But I can still get quite a bit of foods in there because it's quite large. It's a larger fridge. So I have a complete lamb in there, and I have a number of other things as well. But it's less than a complete lamb now. But anyway, who's talking? But it's always hard sometimes with certain seafoods and all that. So I've got one tray at the bottom that's got the whole lamb. Then the next tray has got things like pork, beef and other things like that, and some organ meats. And then the other smaller tray above that, because there's the other part over here that's got all the sort of the ice stuff. And that other tray has basically got things like a lot of my seafood sort of stuff. Tuna, sardines, whatever. I'm out of scallops at the moment, actually. Yeah, that's the other thing. I need to go and get some scallops. Haven't had scallops now for, 2 weeks or is it? Yeah, anyway. G'day, Chris. I wouldn't be surprised. There'd be plenty of feral goats out there. You go hunting? Actually, I would go hunting for them if I was in that area. The only things that I go hunting down here are basically for wallabies. But if I was in that area, I'd definitely go out and knock a few goats down and stick them in my fridge. And definitely would be the plan. I'm jealous. I'm damn jealous. Yeah, look, I haven't had scallops for a little while, so need to go and get some. I've still got prawns, raw prawns, wild caught type prawns, but I need to go and get some scallops, which I haven't got. We get them. There's a location down at Margate, and they have also the Roy on it, because all the supermarkets just it's scallops. They've taken the egg part, the Roy, so that's not part of it. I mean, there's so much nutrition in that, so it is annoying. So there's a supply down in Margate, which is the southwest from Hobart, and so they have very nice scallops. We actually did a barbecue scallops once. We bought a whole lot, big, massive kilo bag, and just literally that was we sort of did the steaks, cleaned it, then put all the scallops on there, because they don't take long to, a few minutes they're done. That's how quick. And basically had steaks and scallops for the day. That was really nice. Yeah, I love them as well, especially putting butter on top of them. Oh God. And the other thing is I'll put a bit of rosemary on top as well. So butter, rosemary. Oh God, I'm getting hungry. I'm making myself hungry. Damn. Anyway, it is 3 hours now, guys. So I think we'll stop here, because I've got another in what is it? In 4.5 hours, I've got my next live stream, which is some of people within the Australasian area, and a few others will probably be hopefully on that as well. But we'll have to call this a day, so I can go and cook some meat, so I can get a meal into me, because I haven't had just water. I've been fasting because I actually ate a bit too late last night, so I had to extend my fast. And usually I break it around 11ish, but now I've sort of had to extend it a bit, in particular because I ate too late last night. So that's the problem. So it was great, having Bart on, and Jared, our regular, sort of our regular milk mafia boss, So that provides a bit of excitement. Maybe next week we may get Luke on and get a bit of Brazilian flavour. Yeah. See you, T2. Get your trolling shoes on. I'm doing a 48. Fair enough. Long session. Yes, that's a long fast. Yeah. 2 days. Yeah, look. Last time I did a 3-day fast was way back. Remember when I was doing the sort of the stuff about the coronavirus and all that sort of stuff, and that was way back then. But yes. Wonder where Shell's gone. Yep, she likes the young boys. Hey, what about me? I'm not that sexy, am I? Oh, I'm not sexy. I'm that old song. Yeah. Yes. Thanks, mate. Thanks, Richard. Take care, mate. It's been a wonderful time. See you then on the sunny side. Okay, guys. See yous. Bye. Had fun. We'll do it next week again. And for the later crowd, I will see you guys in a couple of hours. Take care. See yous. Bye.